What's up? It's Smash Pass MMA here to break down and discuss the UFC Fight Night Moicano versus Duncan. Starting with the prelim opener, we have Kai Kamaka versus Dakota Hope. Both these fighters are just coming into the UFC. Kai Kamaka is coming off of 4 fights on Tough Enough, and this is his UFC debut. Meanwhile, Dakota Hope is also making his UFC debut, coming from Fury FC. Now, Dakota Hope's coming in on a 5-fight win streak. Meanwhile, Kai Kamaka is coming in on a 1-fight win streak, beating Michael Lima, but then losing to Diego Brandao before that. Now, Diego Brandao is a really good opponent. He's not a bad opponent to lose to. It's kind of crazy he was on Tough Enough. But meanwhile, again, Dakota Hope, more win streak. Not anybody, too impressive. Not anybody really knows, No one in the UFC, no well-known regional guys who are about to get to the UFC, nothing like that. So I'm gonna go with Kai Kamaka just because the experience. I mean, it could definitely go either way. Kai Kamaka's 17-7, means he knows how to lose, unfortunately, but hopefully those losses have kind of shown him something. Dakota Hope, he's 11-1. But he hasn't really fought anyone, so it's like you could be 5,000-0, but if they're, scarecrows, doesn't really matter. So, I'm going to go Kai Kamaka. Definitely could go either way. I could see Dakota Hope winning. But just off experience, kind of got that rub, hopefully off Diego Brandao. And then improved since then. I think Kai Kamaka could pull it off. Plus, he's Hawaiian. They scrap, And if you look at Kai Kamaka's record, most of his losses are freaking split decisions. Split to Diego Brandao, split to Brendan Lahney, split to Justin Gonzalez, draw with Danny Chavez, split with TJ Brown, 1 TKO, a unanimous back in, one of his early fights to Jeff Mesa, and then a doctor stoppage another time. So I'm going to go Kai Kamaka. Most of his losses are by split decision. He has 7 losses, 4 split decision losses, a unanimous, a doctor stoppage, and a TKO, and then 1 draw as well. So he makes his fights pretty competitive, and he seems to only be getting better. His TKO and unanimous decision were early in his career. But Dakota Hope could definitely pull it off. Moving on from there, we got Dione Barbosa versus Melissa Gatto. Now, it's a woman's fight. Dione Barbosa is 8-4. She's coming off of a loss, a win before that, a loss before that, a win before that, and then a win on Dana White's Contender Series. So she's only been in the UFC for 4 fights. She's 2-2. Karine Silva, she lost to. Diana Belbita, she won. Miranda Maverick, she lost to. Ernesta Caracate, she beat. Meanwhile, Melissa Gatto is on a 1-fight win streak. Before that, she lost 2. So she just beat Tamiris Vidal. Before that, she lost to Ariana Lipski da Silva and Tracy Cortez. Even though Melissa Gatto is coming off a win and Dione Barbosa is coming off a loss, I'm going to go with Dione Barbosa on this one, but it could go either way. It's a women's fight at the end of the day, and they're not very good. Moving on, we got Azamat Bakayev versus Tresean Gore. Tresean Gore is coming in on a 2-fight losing streak. His nickname is ironically Mr. Vicious, which is funny because he got KO'd by Cody Brundage 5 fights ago. And since then, he beat Josh Fremd, beat Antonio Tricoli, lost to Marco Tullio, and lost to Rodolfo Vieira. Before the Cody Brundage knockout, he lost to Brian Battle, and that was his UFC debut. So, 2-4 in the UFC. The 2 guys he beat, Tricoli and Fremd, they're not great. Meanwhile, Azamat Bakayev, been in the UFC 3 fights. KO'd Zachary Reese, TKO'd Ryan Loder, Most impressive, no, but finished him. But just lost to Yusri Belgarui in the 3rd round via TKO. Now, would Tresean Gore make it to the 3rd round if he's getting KO'd by Cody Brundage and TKO'd by Marco Tullio? No, probably not. So I'm going to take Azamat Bakayev in this one to beat Tresean Gore. It seems kind of obvious, but it definitely still could go either way. They haven't really been tested or proven themselves that much, so you never really know, right? It's always a little bit of a toss-up. I'm going to go Azamat Bakayev just based off the Belgarui fight and him making it to the 3rd round, basically. And Tresean Gore just not really being that impressive. Moving on from there, we got Alice Pereira versus Haley Cowan. Now, in this one, Alice Pereira is coming in off a loss in her debut to Montserrat Hendon, and Haley Cowan is coming in off of 2 losses since her fight on Dana White Contender Series. So on Dana White Contender Series, she beat Claudia Leet. Got her UFC by split decision, by the way. Got her UFC contract and then went on a 2-fight skid. Jamie Lynn Horth and Nora Kernol. Decision to Jamie Lynn and submission to Nora. Now I'm gonna go with Alice Pereira, even though she lost her debut. I think the nerves kind of got to her. She kind of gassed. It was a split decision. She did probably win the first round. She probably should have lost the second and third, but it was close enough that one judge was at least like, I don't know, she might have won. So I would say Alice Pereira should win this one, but again, is it really that clear? No. They're low-level women MMA fighters, so at the end of the day, it could really go either way. You can't really base much off past performances. One's on their period this time, and it ruins the entire prediction, you know? Moving on, we got the return of Lando Groovy Venata versus Darius Flowers. Now, this could go either way. Lando Venata is coming off a 3-year hiatus from April 15th, 2023. His loss to Daniel Zellhuber. Before that, he lost to Charles Jourdain. Before that, beat Mike Grundy. Before that, lost to Bobby Green. Before that, beat Yancy Medeiros. Before that, lost to Mark Jacasey. Before that, beat Marcos Mariano. Before that, had a draw with Matt Frivola. Before that, lost to Dakar Close. Before that, had a draw with Bobby Green. Before that, had a loss to David Tamor. Before that, he knocked out John McDessie with a spinning wheel kick. And before that, he fought Tony Ferguson in his debut and got submitted. That Tony Ferguson fight was pretty good, pretty close. The John McDessie knockout was great. Since then, he hasn't really looked very good, unfortunately. But he said that, over these 3 years, he was handling some personal stuff and some medical stuff. So hopefully, he's coming back reinvigorated. That's what he's saying. So I want to say Lando Venata here, and I'm going to say Lando Venata. But with that being said, Darius Flowers has been much more active, He's had 3 fights since Lando's last fight. However, Darius Flowers' last fight was also in 2024 at least. So it's been almost 2 years since he's fought. And he's coming on a 3-fight losing streak to Evan Elder, Michael Johnson, and Jake Matthews. So I'm going to go Lando Venata. I could be, disappointed here, and I know that. But I'm going to go Lando Venata. The experience, the wow factor. His better finishes. I know they haven't come up in a while, but he can strike. He rocked Tony Ferguson. So I'm going to go Lando Venata. Hopefully he brings that groove back, Moving on from there, we got Alessandro Costa versus Stuart Nickel. Now, this one, I really don't know what I think here. I'm going to go with Alessandro Costa just because he fought Steve Erceg and went to decision. And then, he did get TKO'd by Alden Correa on his last fight. But he TKO'd Kevin Borjas before that. TKO'd Jimmy Flick. Meanwhile, Stuart Nickel, 8-2, came into the UFC 2 fights ago and lost both. He was 8-0, lost to Jesus Santos Aguiar via guillotine, and then lost to Lucas Rocha via unanimous decision. So Alessandro Costa has the experience. Stuart Nickel had the momentum, but he lost it, I'm going to go with Alessandro Costa. A small part of me thinks Stuart Nickel could right the ship right here and go on a win streak maybe, but I'm going to go with Alessandro Costa. He has way more experience at this level, Moving on from there, we got the main event of the prelims, which is Guilherme Pat versus Thomas Peterson. Now, Guilherme Pat has had 1 fight in the UFC. Alan Fry, he won via unanimous decision. Thomas Peterson's had a few fights in the UFC. He's fought Vito Petrino, he lost via KO. Before that, he beat Dontel Mays via decision. Before that, lost to Shamil Gaziev TKO. Before that, beat Muhammad Usman via decision. Before that, lost to Jamal Pogues via decision. And before that was on Dana White's contender series where he won against Chandler Cole. So I'm going to go with Guilherme Pat in this one. He did look pretty good. His counters looked pretty good in his last fight. He did get dropped, though. I could see Thomas Peterson maybe getting a little bit of an upset here. But I am going to go with Guilherme Pat in this one to win via either decision or like a round 3 TKO. Moving on from there, we got the main card opener, which is Robert Ruchala versus Jose Delano. I think I'm going to go with Robert Ruchala in this one. It could go either way. So Robert Ruchala has 1 fight in the UFC against William Gomes, which he lost via decision. Jose Delano's making his UFC debut. Jose Delano's on like a 5-fight win streak, and his last loss was a body shot KO, which can kind of happen to anybody, And before that, he was on a pretty good win streak. And then he had like a submission and a decision loss way back. So overall, he seems like, hard to beat, hard to finish. But he hasn't really been tested against the top levels. He's making his debut. Meanwhile, Robert Ruchala lost when he got tested against, a UFC level, William Gomes. But William Gomes is 5-1 in his 6 UFC fights. So William Gomes has kind of proven himself at this point. Jose Delano hasn't, Robert Ruchala hasn't, but at least Robert Ruchala got that rub against William Gomes, got to shake out some of the nerves. Maybe he'll be more nervous because he's coming in off a loss. But, he had a belt in his former promotion, so I kind of want to lean that way. I will say Jose Delano seems pretty well-rounded. He has TKOs, he has submissions, decisions, KOs, so it really could go either. I changed my mind. I'm going to go Jose Delano to just keep his momentum going and beat Robert Ruchala coming off his loss. But William Gomes not a bad loss, so it could go either way. Moving on from there, we got Tommy McMillan versus Manolo Zecchini. I'm going to go Tommy McMillan, 9-0 overall. Manolo Zecchini is Italian. He lost to Morgan Charrier via body kick and punches in his UFC debut. Before that UFC debut, he had 2-fight win streak, a loss, 2-fight win streak, a loss, 2-fight win streak, a loss, and then a 5-fight win streak to start his pro career. He lost to Morgan Charrier, and he's Italian. And we've never had any good Italian gym really prove itself. Where's he training out of, though? Yeah, he's from Milano. Yeah, he's screwed. He's from Italy, so he's going to lose for sure. Tommy McMillan probably going to not look as good as we thought he would, but still is going to win because at least he fights American fighters who have actual training in all disciplines. Again, you're never going to see an Italian champion. If you do, it won't be for a long time. So, yeah, I'm going to go with Tommy McMillan, even though he didn't look that good in his last fight. Moving on from there, we got Ethan Ewing versus Rafael Estevam. This fight should be sick. Ethan Ewing's coming in 9-2 off his win against Malcolm Wellmaker. Undefeated prospect. Short notice. Now he's going up against Rafael Estevam, another undefeated prospect. But the difference there is, Ethan Ewing's coming off that win off Malcolm Wellmaker at bantamweight, whereas Rafael Estevam has fought a lot of his career down at flyweight. So Ethan Ewing should have the size advantage, which he didn't have against Malcolm Wellmaker. He had to kind of bounce in and out and go around Malcolm Wellmaker and still kind of made it look easy. Kind of put on a clinic for good entries and footwork and, staying on the outside and finding your way in on your opponent. He really showed a lot of skill. So I'm going to go Ethan Ewing, and it's crazy that they're giving him 2 undefeated prospects back-to-back. So he fought Malcolm Wellmaker, who was 10-0 going into that fight. And now he's fighting Rafael Estevam, who's 14-0. So they're really trying to challenge Ethan Ewing early, but so far he has proved himself to be up to the challenge. And I think we're going to see a good run from him. I really think he's going to go straight towards the top of the division, and then we'll see where he kind of lands. But I don't think anyone's going to be able to stop him outside of like the top 15 or so, But we'll see. A short notice win over Malcolm Wellmaker is impressive, for sure. Moving on from there, we got the light heavyweights. Abdul Rahman Yakayev versus Brenson Ribeiro. I'm gonna go with Abdul Rahman Yakayev just because Brenson Ribeiro's kind of already proved himself not to be UFC material. He lost to Umar Sy and Azamat Murzakanov, both in the UFC. Before that, he did beat Dayar Nergaze and Kyle Machado. Before that, he did lose to Magomed Gadziasulov and Mingyang Zhang, both in the UFC. And then before that, he had his Dana White Contender Series fight against Bruno Lopez, where he won. So at this point, I really just don't see him turning that around and becoming like a top prospect. Meanwhile, Abdul Rahman Yazayev is 8-0. 4 submissions, 3 KO, TKOs, and 1 decision. He's coming off a rear naked choke, Rafael Kirkera, and that's his only UFC fight. Before that, he was on the Contender Series where he beat Alik Lorenz. Doesn't matter, right? So it could go either way. Brenson Ribeiro could get the upset here. It's not like Abdul has proven himself. However, Abdul has the momentum, undefeated. Brenson Ribeiro has already shown he's not really the top of the top. So I'm going to go on Abdul to keep that momentum going, keep the undefeated streak, beat Brenson Ribeiro. However, Brenson Ribeiro's fought way more experienced competition, so if Brenson Ribeiro makes it a tough, grueling 3 rounds and squeaks it out or something, I wouldn't be surprised, you know? I really wouldn't be surprised. Moving on from there, we do have the co-main event, women's strawweight, Verna Jandiroba versus Tabitha Ricci. Tabitha Ricci's 12-3, coming into this fight with a win over Amanda Ribas in her last fight. Before that, she did lose to Zhao Nanyan. Before that, beat Angela Hill, Tisha Pennington, lost to Lupita Godinez, beat Jillian Robertson, some other girls. Meanwhile, Verna Jandiroba is coming off a loss to Mackenzie Dern for the strawweight belt. And before that, she beat Zhao Nanyan. So I'm going to go with Verna Jandiroba. She has the more experience, 22-4 to 12-3. She has the higher fight experience coming in off of a title fight. And Tabitha Ricci just lost to Zhao Nanyan 2-3 fights ago, whereas Verna Jandiroba just beat Zhao Nanyan 2 fights ago. So they kind of are at that same spot, but like up or down five places. Tabitha Ricci probably like number 7, you know, Verna Jandiroba probably like number 2 or 3 right now. And, you know, when Tabitha Ricci fought Zhao Nanyan, she was coming off of her fight with Weili Zhang, so it's like Zhao Nanyan got the rub against Weili, fought Ricci, beat her, but then fought Jandiroba and lost. So Jandiroba was coming in. So Jandiroba really did have good momentum coming into that title fight, but she wasn't able to do it against Mackenzie Dern, who she's lost to now twice. Tabitha Ricci seems to lose every time she gets to that top level. You know, Zhao Nanyan beat her. Lupita Godinez beat her. Manon Fiorot, TKO, beat her, you know. So I'm going to have to go with Verna Jandiroba. Moving on to the main event, we got Renato Moicano versus Chris Duncan. Chris Duncan looking pretty good, you know, coming into this fight. He does look pretty good. I think people are really... I don't think people give Moicano enough credit. If we look at, say, Benoit Saint-Denis, great grappler coming in. Renato Moicano took him down in the first round and absolutely brutalized him, that they had to stop the fight off ground and pound. Like, not right away, but you know what I mean. The damage caused by the ground and pound stopped the fight. That's pretty brutal, you know. Meanwhile, Duncan, he gets submissions. He got an anaconda against Terrence McKinney. He had a decision against Mateus Rebecki, a guillotine against Jordan Vucenic, a guillotine against Balaji Aki. Lost by rear naked choke to Manuel Torres, though, you know. Decision against Yanal Ashmus. Decision against Omar Morales. Decision against KO against Charlie Campbell. Decision, lost by KO, TKO, TKO, TKO win, TKO win, TKO win, TKO win, submission win. So, Chris Duncan kind of turned his career around. He was getting some TKOs, got submitted, and then kind of turned it around and became a submission guy, but then has still gotten submitted since then, you know what I mean? So, if you're losing to Manuel Torres in 2024 via rear naked choke, I don't know if 2 years and 2 months is enough time to not get taken down and beat the fuck out of or submitted by Renato Moicano. That being said, Renato Moicano did just lose to Beneil Dariush, but Beneil Dariush is a pretty big guy for that division. And that was coming off the Islam loss, so his confidence might not have been there. But, you know, he does need that money, so I think he's going to come with a better game plan now and really put it on Duncan. That being said, though, Chris Duncan could pull it off. Chris Duncan, probably the better striker. Seems definitely to have the more power. Moicano has a good jab, though, when he gets it going. But I just think Chris Duncan relying on submissions a lot recently kind of plays into Moicano's entire game plan. And I don't see him catching Moicano in the takedown, you know. If you're a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt with good wrestling, you're not getting caught in guillotines on the way down, you know. So I'm going to have to lean Renato Moicano to beat Chris Duncan. Chris Duncan's not bad. Definitely has a chance. but just hasn't proven himself yet. And Renato Moicano's still at the top of the division. I mean, he's still like, what, top 10 at least? It might even not be in the top 10 technically, but skill-wise, his grappling is definitely top 10. So we'll see with this fight if Chris Duncan's going to be top 10 or if not. But I'm going to have to go Moicano for now. Either way, the fight should be pretty dope. Hope you guys enjoy them, and we'll see you later. Peace.